vote on military strikes to give diplomacy a chance. We're live at the White House with CBS's Peter Mayer.
And this morning, Steve, as that diplomacy plays out, the president wants to send a firm message to the Syrian regime.
I've ordered our military to maintain their current posture, to keep the pressure on Assad, and to be in a position to respond if diplomacy fails.
He graphically outlined the impact of Syrian chemical weapons.
Images of children writhing in pain,
insisting the U.S. must respond.
When dictators commit atrocities, they depend upon the world to look the other way until those horrifying pictures fade from memory.
Now, Secretary of State Kerry travels to Geneva tomorrow to confer with his Russian counterpart on Moscow's plan for Syria to give up its chemical arsenal.
Any agreement must verify that the Assad regime keeps its commitments.
Now to Capitol Hill and CBS News congressional correspondent Nancy Cordes.
Republican Senator Rand Paul summed up the opposition in Congress to military strikes.
We have no plan for victory. In fact, to my mind, the Obama administration is arguing for stalemate.
Democrat Earl Blumenauer tweeted that he was relieved to hear the president slow down on Syria. With a diplomatic solution now a possibility, a group of 10 senators is working furiously on a new Syria resolution to make sure any international agreement is enforceable, establish a system to verify compliance, all while maintaining the threat of military action if the Syrian regime fails to meet its promises.
CBS News political director John Dickerson joins us. John, what about this new resolution in Congress Nancy Cordes mentioned?
This is an attempt for some senators who didn't want to vote for the action in the first place to create a measure that allows them to say they're really supporting diplomacy, but that has a little bit of teeth to it. And this is what the president said, even though he'd asked for the vote to be paused. He said the threat of military use was what was getting Assad to the table. It had sort of scared him straight. And so this measure that marries both diplomacy to action is a way to kind of keep the pressure on, but also allow room for some kind of negotiated settlement.
John, what about the scenario if diplomacy fails and Congress votes down force? How likely is it the president would act on his own?
Every signal the White House is sending, both kind of behind the scenes and even in the president in his interviews with network news anchors, suggested he's not going to go forward if Congress doesn't support him. And that's one of the kind of complexities here is, on the one hand, he's losing support for his military action, but on the other hand, there is this glimmer that diplomacy might have grown out of the fact that the president was making a threat of military action.
Now to the foreign desk in CBS's Vicki Barker. She's following the latest efforts at diplomacy.
French diplomats working to craft a possible UN resolution say Moscow has already rejected making it militarily enforceable, won't let it blame the Assad government for the chemical attack, and rejects a war crimes trial for those found responsible. And even Russia's scaled-down vision for ridding Syria of chemical weapons has problems, says CBS News correspondent Elizabeth Palmer in Damascus.
Many parts of this country are not accessible to the government. So just to guard them is one thing. And then if, as the Russians say, the goal is to destroy them, that could take years.
Years, the opposition fears that would allow the Syrian regime to continue its campaign against rebels and civilians. A new UN report says the regime carried out 8 of 9 confirmed massacres in Syria over the past 18 months. Steve?
In Benghazi, Libya, a year after the terror attack that killed the U.S. ambassador and 3 other Americans, a car bomb outside the city's foreign ministry left some people injured. 12 years after the 9/11 attacks that killed nearly 3,000 people in this country, family members will read out the names of victims at the Pentagon, Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and at New York's Ground Zero. WCBS Radio's Sean Adams.
12 years later, time cannot heal all wounds. Families return to hallowed ground, the World Trade Center. They clutch photos, flowers, and American flags. Amid the twin waterfalls, the footprints of the towers, and the shade of oak trees, the recitation of names and moments of silence. The emphasis is shifting toward educating a new generation with no personal memories of black smoke staining a blue sky, the cacophony of sirens and screams, and the horror of the collapsing towers. Here now, CBS's Heather Bosch.
Once a scene of destruction, there's now construction at Ground Zero, a museum being built around evidence of the terror attacks. Oh, wow. Battered giant steel structures from the Twin Towers reach up inside new glass walls. The museum leads underground, too, to the foundation of the original World Trade Center.
It's a real important part of the story to to preserve that authentic history.
Memorial President Joe Daniels says the museum shows what happened.
Ultimately, 9/11 is such a human story, and we want to bring that out.
Survivors and victims here in personal items, photos, and recordings. Flight attendant Cece Lyles.
Baby, you have to listen to me carefully. I'm on a plane that's been hijacked.
Her call to her husband.
I hope to be able to see your face again, baby. I love you.
Many items donated by 9/11 families.
The site radiates something for us all in a very special way.
That's where the final resting place of our loved ones is. And you can feel it.
And they hope visitors will feel and gain a better appreciation of what happened here.
Colorado voters have recalled 2 Democratic state senators who supported new gun control laws. State Senate President John Morse is one of the lawmakers now out of a job.
This is the result. That's okay. We'll fight another day and fight.
In primary voting, New York City voters dismissed comeback bids by 2 politicians disgraced by scandal, ex-Governor Eliot Spitzer and former Congressman Anthony Weiner.
We had the best ideas. Sadly, I was an imperfect messenger.
Weiner finished a distant 5th in Democratic voting for mayor. Spitzer lost his race for city controller. Umberto has become the first Atlantic hurricane of the season. It's far from land, top winds near 75 miles an hour. The United States has qualified for next year's Soccer World Cup in Brazil. A 2-0 win over rival Mexico last night on ESPN in Columbus, Ohio. Sometimes lost in the story of Syria's civil war and the possibility of U.S. military action are the millions of refugees forced out of the country. Thousands leave every day. CBS's Clarissa Ward has been listening to some of their stories.
On a square of cardboard in the dirt just 100 feet from the border, we met Iman. She told us she fled Syria 3 weeks ago after her 5-month-old daughter was killed. Iman and her family are now safe from the shelling, but struggling to survive in a country that has been overwhelmed by the flood of Syrians trying to escape the war. Refugee camps fill up as soon as they are built, leaving many families out on the streets. We sleep on top of each other. That's why we have many diseases here, he said. There are no bathrooms. Clarissa Ward, CBS News, Kilis, Turkey.
That's the World News Roundup. I'm Steve Kathan, CBS News.
Welcome back to Studio 26 on this edition of First Cup. Running a little bit longer than normal, but that's okay. Because I'm the boss, and, well, I can do that. Well, here's some other things you need to know on this Wednesday before we take a look at news of the weird and popular tweets of the day, along with the song of the day and what's on TV tonight. Of course, today is the 12th day of the 9/11 terrorist attacks, which, incidentally, is Patriots' Day. Observed to remember those who were injured or died during the terrorist attacks in the United States on the state 12 years ago. And it's also I Want to Start My Own Business Day. And today the New Mexico State Fair runs from now through Sunday, September 22nd in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I knew I took a wrong turn at Albuquerque. And those are things you need to know on this Wednesday. We'll have news of the weird coming up in just a moment. Before I went to CBS News, you probably heard, for those of you not familiar with it, the voice of Jon Stewart talking about what he remembers about 9/11. And that was recorded a week after the horrific attacks. You know, the guy that got under the desk when he was a kid in Trenton, New Jersey, and then had the cottage cheese and all that, and then saw the Twin Towers collapse, now sees the Statue of Liberty. Quite an extraordinary story. I'll have some more clips coming up in just a moment, including one from former New York Governor George Pataki, coming up in a couple of minutes right after this quick break. So stick around. You're listening to First Cup.
This is a guided meditation on parenting. Take this time to breathe deeply and close your eyes. Right now, you're completely in control. Unlike the time you and your son played basketball and you attempted to slam dunk. Or when you tried removing those raccoons from the basement. Concentrate on the soothing sound of my voice. Release the memory of when you wrestled with that beehive in your son's treehouse. Let go of the time you thought that skunk was a cat, or when you pulled into the garage with your son's bike on top of the car. Deep breaths. Deep breaths.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you. For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
My dad came to live with us last month, and it's going pretty well. I feel like I never have time for myself. With him being around more, it really lets us catch up on things. His memory isn't what it used to be. We get up and we have coffee. He usually wakes up at 4:30. Then we go for a walk. He needs lots of my attention. I do need to keep an eye on his medications, though. That's important. Sometimes I feel like a pharmacist. I'd say John and the kids are adjusting pretty well. They honestly have no idea what I'm going through. It can be a little challenging, but so far so good. I could really use just a little help.
For those dealing with the daily struggles of caring for a loved one, we hear you. That's why AARP created a community with experts and other caregivers for advice, tips, and support. Together, let's help each other better care for ourselves and the ones we love. Visit aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
We're still hearing that it's a horrific situation. We're in desperate need of people to help out with emergency services. The city team is there, but we've activated our National Guard and our statewide fire and emergency services, and we're going to be bringing those in to relieve the city forces as the afternoon goes on. I've been in touch with the mayor, I've been in touch with the White House, and everything that we can do and everything that can be done is being done at this point.
There's a magic in the early morning we found. When the sun
Welcome back to Studio 26 on this Wednesday morning, the 12th anniversary of the most horrific day, I think, in modern American history, for sure. We'll have popular tweets of the day coming up in just a moment. Right now, though, we're going to switch things over to News of the Weird, right after 8 is enough. Because 8 is enough, don't you think?
Oh, we spend our days like bright and shiny new dimes. If we're ever puzzled by the changing time, there's a plate of homemade wishes on the kitchen windowsill, and 8 is enough to fill our lives with love.
And that's going to oh, son of a bitch. Why is this happening?
And it's time for News of the Weird on this Wednesday. Golf course apologizes for $9.11 promotion on 9/11. A Wisconsin golf course, Tumble Down Trails, apologized for its recent advertisement promoting a price of $9.11 for playing 9 holes on September 11th, the anniversary of the World Trade Center attacks. After negative reactions from the public, the manager apologized, but said he also heard a lot of positive comments from visitors thanking them for the unique reminder of the day. I think it was in bad taste, but, there are just some things you just don't do. Maybe wait 100 years or so. By then, the sting of it may have worn off a little bit, but good grief. Can't believe anybody would approve that. Or think that's a good idea. But I guess that's why he's the manager. That's the News of the Weird for this Wednesday. Let's see what's on the old tweeter.
And you can always follow me on Twitter.
Hello, computer. Just use the keyboard. The keyboard? How quaint.
And taking a look at the popular tweets of the day. Apple introduced their new iPhone lines yesterday with fingerprinting ID, so we searched the tweeter for comments, and, well, here's what I have found. Indecision writes, the new iPhone Touch ID recognizes fingerprints. It's like a police department, except it violates even more of your rights. Sam Gritner writes, "It's reassuring to know that a phone will be able to identify me by my fingerprint, even though I'm still figuring out who I am." Sean Kellerer writes, "I wonder how long it will be until the NSA